This is Speaking of Speaking. Quick tips and tools to take you from stage fright to spotlight. This podcast gives you an inside look from the world of public speaking and the speaking secrets you need to be bold from the stage, no matter what business you're in. The host of Speaking, Carl Richards.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, it's another edition of the Speaking of Speaking podcast. Part 2 of Rocking the Virtual Stage. Today we're going to talk about looking and sounding professional, or looking and sounding the part. First off, I want to talk about the sound part, because the sound part of your virtual stage, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a video series, regardless of what it is, even if it's a Facebook Live thing, it needs to be clear, it needs to be crisp, it needs to be clean. There can be no tinniness, no echo, nothing like that. The other thing is lighting. You want to make sure that you choose the space wisely. So in some cases, you might need to use a backdrop. I like to use a backdrop sometimes for video. Obviously, it's not as important for audio, but you definitely want to make sure that you're looking the part. Now, some people will tell you that in order to feel the part, taking this a step further now, in order to feel the part, you have to dress for the part. So I know people who get up in the morning, for example, even if they're working from home, they still dress as if they were going to a physical space or a physical office. So think about that. If you're that type of person that isn't exactly formal sounding or professional sounding when you're wearing jeans and you're just doing an audio podcast like what I'm doing, then certainly by all means, get dressed as if you were going to the office. Put on a professional outfit. So that way you feel the part. So that way you also will sound the part. There's been a lot of research done about this. I'm not an expert in it by any means, but there's been a lot of research done about this as to how feeling the part and looking the part also makes you sound the part. So there are sometimes actually that I get up in the morning, even if I'm not doing a video call, and I will put on, a shirt, a button-down shirt. Sometimes I'll put on a pair of dress pants. Sometimes I'll put on a blazer or a jacket. So I feel the part for whatever it is I'm doing. All right. So that's very important to be aware of that. The lighting. Let's talk about that. You want to make sure you want to choose that space wisely. No two spaces are the same. And I know this from personal experience because the previous house we lived in, it had a fantastic space with a lot of natural light, but we had 2 windows and it was very hard, even with the blinds closed and the overhead light on, to get really good lighting in that room. So in order to get good lighting in that room, I had to set up other lights if I wanted to make sure that the visual was important. Also, it was very hard for audio because there was too much echo. There was a laminate floor. It was not carpeted at all. This new house that we're in right now with the carpet on the floor makes a huge difference for sound dampening. But then on top of that, the backdrop was always very awkward. So at one point I had not only my banner, but I also had a curtain behind it, like one of those fake backdrops, those pipe and drape type curtains. I had one of those set up with my backdrop just so that whenever I turned on my video camera, that everything looked clear and crisp and clean. All right. So use a backdrop if you have to. Avoid shadows, dark spaces, poor lit areas. Having said that, though, I know a guy who does his video podcasts, or his videos rather, and every video behind his space behind him is very dark, but the space in front of him is very light. So it actually gives a really good backdrop because it's pitch black, but what's in front of him puts the right amount of light on his face, and it's just a fantastic setup. So that's phenomenal. Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is very important, especially if you're recording a podcast. And I know that there are a lot of people now who are jumping onto podcast software that's right on your smartphone. That's fantastic, I believe, if you're doing just a hobby cast. But if you're doing a professional sounding, you want to, it's a reflection of your brand, or it's a reflection of you, and you're trying to bolster your credibility. I think you want to make sure that not only do you have solid Wi-Fi, but that you're using equipment and you're also using software that is appropriate as well. All right, just want to put that little bug in there. But the Wi-Fi is very important. I've seen people do their Facebook Live videos and have them cut out in the middle of them because they didn't have proper Wi-Fi. I've had that happen to me with a Wi-Fi connection, and my Wi-Fi went out. So it can happen, but you want to make sure that you have Wi-Fi rather than just whatever your cell service is, rather than relying on that. Make sure you have Wi-Fi. That's going to save you a lot of headaches in the end. All right, so a couple of things here. Dress appropriately. We touched on that already. But not just dressing appropriately. Make sure you look alive. If you've just woken up and you look like you've tumbled out of bed, even if you feel like you can do a recording, you might want to make sure you look alive and feel alive before you try to sound alive. Guys, if you have a beard, fine. But if you've got that 5 o'clock shadow or 10 o'clock shadow, and it's not a reflection of your brand, and you typically shave, shave. Take the time to do that. Again, not so much a big deal for audio, but certainly for video, it's very important. The other thing that you want to do is also comb your hair. Guys, especially you. Sometimes guys just kind of wash and go. I know that's what I do, but I don't have any hair, so it's a little bit different. But make sure you at least comb your hair. Look the part. Look professional. Give that vibe out there that you care not only about your business, but you care about what you look like as well as what you sound like as well. Ladies, the same goes for you. Do whatever you need to do to make yourself look and sound phenomenal. And I say this because I have seen professional women who don't show up the way they should. Let's put it that way. Make sure that everything looks and sounds the way it's supposed to, including yourself. That's the point I want to hammer home is guys and gals alike, make sure you are reflecting your brand. You are the ambassador for it. So make sure that you aren't leaving anything to chance. All right. So be alive, be awake, be excited, be engaging, whatever it is you're doing on the virtual stage, and make sure that you rock it out of the park every single time that you are on the virtual stage. And there are many of them, by the way, everything from Facebook Lives to podcasting to, I know people that are doing virtual events 3-4 days long, and they're inviting guests on. So make sure that everything behind you, including your makeup, your hair, your backdrop, your lighting, your sound, everything is a reflection of you, your brand, how you want to sound, how you want to look, because how you show up will determine who wants to do business with you. So it's very important. I wanted to give you an opportunity to check something out. For those of you who don't know, I have a Facebook group. It's called Podcast Launch Made Simple. And in that group, we give you the opportunity to learn a little bit more about podcasting, which of course is becoming a very popular way of getting the word out about what it is that you do. We have some free training that is coming up on November the 16th. It'll run all week long, November the 16th to the 21st. And it's an opportunity for you to find out about podcasting, the latest trends in the podcasting world, and whether or not it is a fit for you and your brand. I believe it is. And if you think it is as well, and you want to level up your credibility and give your brand the exposure you need, check it out. I'll post the link in the show notes here, and you'll be able to just click on it directly there. But it's Podcast Launch Made Simple. That's the Facebook group, and the program is called Podcast Launch Made Simple Workshop Week. All right, looking forward to having you in the group, and also looking forward to having you in that training as well. It's been a fantastic conversation. Next time when we talk, it'll be Rocking the Virtual Stage Part 3, Content. Also very important. Until next time, it's Carl Richards. Get out there and own the platform.
Thanks for listening to the Speaking of Speaking podcast. Fired up about something you heard today? Want to learn more? Be sure to visit carlspeaks.ca. And don't forget to follow Carl on Twitter @CarlRichards72 or join the Facebook group Speaking of Speaking.